So we are recording. It's November 16th. We did talk about the exam results that were found. And this is a little tougher exam and a little bit less time. And when it comes down to the final, there'll even be a little less time. It's only a 2-hour time slot to work within. We will have questions available at the end of this call to discuss questions and answers that may have been on the exam that you have. I've already given some feedback to some students already. We talked about some of the correct answers that they thought may not have been correct or they answered different. So I mentioned that and we are able to resolve that. The exam we talked about, final exam is cumulative with a little bit heavier weighting on the more recent chapters that have not been tested yet, other than quizzes, that have not been on an exam, because you're not getting a third exam. You just have the 2 exams plus the final, but it will be cumulative. So the distribution will actually be pretty straightforward. And by Monday, I'll have a listing of the topics to be included that will be posted and available for your review. So you kind of know where to focus, where to study, and what to go after. These questions, we're going to cover question 6 and module 19 homework tonight. We will review that. Additionally, we will be reviewing the final project a little more right now. So let's talk about that final project. As I said and posted, I am looking for you to make a presentation. This is not a narrated PowerPoint. This actually is a video because I want you to practice kind of video presenting. And the easiest thing to do probably is a Zoom recording. And if you want to copy it or record it into a YouTube channel and make it easy, that's fine. You don't have to do that. But I am looking for a Zoom recording or some other mechanism of recording, probably accompanied by a PowerPoint or other documentation that you share to basically highlight your points. I am not asking for a written report, but I am asking for a summary, more like a bulleted summary. It's probably going to be at least 3 to 5 pages. It's going to be analysis, it's going to be tables, maybe some graphs or charts, and a summary that says, hey, here's the data I looked at, here's some of the highlights, here's the reasons I did what I did, and you're going to go in and say, okay, these are some of the ratios, here are some of the trends, here's some of the numbers I found, here's some of the qualitative research I've done in addition to the quantitative research that helped me motivate me to see who is stronger. I am asking you to make some decisions as to what are stronger ratios. The obvious ones might be, well, let's see, I had a net income percentage of 8% for this company and a net income percentage of 6% for this. Okay, 8% seems stronger. I might have had an inventory turnover of this of 8 times and this company had 11 times. Chances are that 11 times turnover is going to be stronger. You transfer it to days and say, boy, that's a much shorter time frame. I'm selling stuff quicker. Sometimes those ratios can be too high or too quick. So you might have to make a judgment call saying, you know what, even though I've got a current ratio of 1.9 and this other company's 1.6, I think they're a little bit more efficient with the 1.6. Or one company might have an 8 current ratio versus a 1.6. You might say 8's too much, too liquid, too many current assets relating to current liabilities. So you're going to make some decision calls and judgment calls. Or you look at a debt to equity ratio or debt to asset ratio or debt ratio and say, well, my company's at 78% debt ratio. This other competitors at 62% debt ratio. The obvious is the 80% is higher risk, but also potentially higher return. So you might have to make a judgment call and say, hey, you know what? I roll the dice. I'm a high risk kind of person, or I'm more conservative. I prefer a lower debt ratio just to be a little more secure. There's no right and wrong answers. I did say I'm going to be eyeballing most of the ratios. I'm not going to go and calculate every ratio, but if you have questions and you want to review some with me directly, I'm happy to do that. But I will review them and I'll eyeball them and I'll say, wait a minute, this one looks out of whack. And it may or may not be. There may be some extenuating circumstances. Sunoco, for instance, the local company is running a loss last year, a pretty heavy loss. I'm saying, but they've been doing pretty well. Well, you look at them and say, wait a minute, they're doing pretty well on their operating stuff, but there was some non-operating stuff that really jumped the gun. So looking at that, I would go ahead and say, you know what? Yes, I did it. I eyeballed it, said, really, they're running a loss? And sure enough, they're running a loss. And we had some other ratios. You also might find that the company may not be able to give you all the ratios on the table. And you can put N/A, not applicable, in that ratio on the table. You say, wait a minute. Don't have to calculate all these things. And most companies will have most things, but not all companies have inventory. I was with one of your classmates earlier today. And he said, I'm really frustrated. I couldn't find cost of goods sold and I couldn't find inventory. Well, it turns out the company that he was analyzing, they don't really have a lot of inventory. You think of a hotel. They may call their rooms inventory, but they're not selling their rooms, they're renting their rooms. The only inventory they may have was of the restaurants. You look at cable company like Spectrum or Charter, they're not selling most of their services, they're a service business. They sell some modems, they do have some sales, they basically have no inventory. I'm not saying that you should jump the gun and say, oh, that's cool. I can find a company that doesn't have inventory. I can save some calculations. That's not the intent of saying, well, they don't have inventory or cost of goods. That's not applicable, but they have other things that you do and want to calculate. But you can still compare. How about if I'm comparing a company in the same industry and one has inventory and one doesn't? Well, that's probably because the other company has other businesses. They may be a conglomerate and they have other businesses that do have inventory where the one you're analyzing may not. So it very well may be that some of those ratios, maybe they don't have a lot of receivables, or they have some receivables, but not enough to really register on a balance sheet. So if we look at that, I'm thinking that you're going to look at that and say, okay, all right, common sense here. Yep, these guys don't have inventory. What the radio station or the TV station calls airtime, 30-second spots, 60-second spots, they call that inventory. From an accounting perspective, that's not inventory. That's not an environment that says, well, that's their inventory, but that's not financial inventory because I can't put 60-second spots on my balance sheet as an asset. That's not an inventory you can count and analyze accordingly. So those are some of the things to think about and some of the things you want to be aware of as you are doing these numbers and doing the reviews. So let's get back to the documentation. I'm not asking you for APA formatted report and come up with the title sheet and all the bibliography wouldn't hurt, but I am asking you for your analysis. And I'm asking you for a summary of things that you looked at, and you might have a balance sheet and income statement that's common size in total. And you're going to show that, but you're going to extract pieces and parts when you make the presentation. You're not going to have a PowerPoint slide with 72 numbers on it or 32 numbers, because that's going to be TMI, too much information. It's going to be too small. You want to extract what's important from that so that when you analyze and you say, okay, this is what I compared these two companies, this one's stronger here because, and here's my conclusions based on, and those are things you're going to show, demonstrate. You'll do quantitative. You've got the common size, vertical analysis. You've got the trend, horizontal analysis, and you have the ratio analysis. You also have qualitative factors, and you might have some ratios that aren't even on the spreadsheet. You might have dollars per employee. The retailer might be dollars per square foot. A hotelier might say, oh, here's my occupancy rates. So there may be efficiency. An airline, you might say, seat capacity, what's my occupancy, what's my usage? A university, how many seats, same percentage. Well, probably not too many for probably university. We're going to see. So those are the kind of things you're going to analyze. You're going to take a look and you're going to say, oh, you know what? These jump out at me. You're going to read the 10K cover to cover. You're going to have a pretty good handle based on this class so far of a lot of the content you read. Some of that might be over the head, and that's okay. And you might not want to be analyzing pensions, and you might have a heavy pension expense that's showing up in a revaluation, and that's expecting the income. And you look in the notes and they'll say, here's what's going on, healthcare costs are to the roof, and we made promises. So yes, you'll be able to comment on that. I don't expect you to go into vested, the detail, of returns on the pension plans and those kind of things of where they have money saved accordingly. So keep that in mind as you do the analysis, as you look at the reports, as you're reading through, and then convince us, your public, as you present of your viewpoint. Chico, you're on. It sounds like you have a question.
Yeah, just a quick little thing. All these things that you were talking about for the report, do you have like maybe like a template that shows an example that may be helpful to that we can like look at? And because you mentioned like putting in graphs or charts or something like that, which is kind of neat and kind of cool. But if you have one like we can look at and say, oh, okay.
What I
Just
do
an idea.
have and probably wouldn't help much is I have some formal reports. And if I was going to ask for a formal report from you guys, I'd probably share those from other students. But because I'm looking more at summaries, it's going to be what you think is important in the analysis of your companies. And if you want to take this offline and have a conversation, I'm happy to do that. And let's see what would be interesting. Once you do some analysis, you're going to say, oh, this is kind of interesting. This is kind of cool. And maybe I can do some bar charts, pie charts, or line graphs or something that's going to mean something. So when you look at that, again, that can be a conversation offline. But because, and I will say, first time teaching this course as an MBA, I wanted to make you all write a paper. I don't think that's reasonable. I think there's.
It's just that, you know, my point is, if you're expecting like a chart or two charts or a graph, and I only give you one chart, is that okay? Is it okay to not have any charts at all?
It's okay to have zero charts.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay. It's okay to have zero charts. I want you to convince your classmates and me of your decision based on your analysis and based on your presentation. Now, you might have a couple of charts to reinforce that. You might have done some research and said, you know, Boston Consulting Group, BCG matrix, that's cool stuff. Or SWOT analysis. Great, you want to include that. Cool, that might be powerful in sharing insights. And those kind of analyses are available in the public domain and to find, or you can do your own analysis of trying to figure out where those fit. So I'm not going to say, yeah, I want a BCG matrix because I like them, but that may not be appropriate for the company you're working with or to make your case. And you can very well make an easy case without it, and you don't need that. So I can't say, you know, here's the graphs and charts that will be good examples because every company is going to be individual. It's going to be what you find, what you highlight, what you deem to be important and relevant. So I'm not trying to dodge the question, other than I'm trying to say, I don't have specific charts I'm looking for. I don't have specific graphs. I don't have anything specific that we need to present. It's just that, you know, picture's worth 1,000 words, and things like you've been doing some analysis on tools like Tableau and Power BI, even in this course, some of the homeworks you've been looking and clicking and finding, oh, I've got numbers on these graphs and charts. So you're getting some of that visualization. That's where the power is, and there's going to be much, much more of that as things progress. I will also say, if you want to integrate that ESG, the last discussion point is actually an ESG report. It's environmental, it's a sustainability report of companies that if you want to interject that as part of your presentation, I think that would be worthwhile. Not saying you have to do it, but you're going to have to do it as a part of discussion point anyway. So what the heck, why not review it? And if there's pertinent data there saying, hey, my company's strong, they take care of their people, they're looking at whatever this, they're considering the environment, whatever their considerations are, that makes them stronger or weaker. You might say, what they're barking up the wrong tree. You know, this is all cosmetics. It's not really going to make much of a difference. I will discount that as part of what they're saying, because public can see through that too. So again, it's going to be individual by company. That if I said we're looking at this one company, we're looking at a retailer and we're trying to figure out, you know, let's look at 3 retailers and everybody's doing the same analysis. Okay, I could get focused and say, yeah, these charts, this is how we analyze, this is what we look for. Everybody's in a different industry. Everybody's in a different direction. So I really think that I can't say this is the most important chart for this company, because it's going to vary by company. It's going to vary by industry. So it's going to be what you determine is important to make your case. Does that help a little bit?
Yes, thank you.
Good question, and thank you for asking. And then,
All right.
you know, I'm available. Like I said, I spoke to somebody earlier today specifically about the projects. If you want to have a chat, you've got my calendar link, please do schedule. The only time,
do
I'll
that.
say Thursday, Thanksgiving, probably off limits, but otherwise pretty flexible. So feel free to indulge. And
Do you sleep? Because I know I'm in the West Coast, so I might middle of the night. Is that all right? Like 3 a.m. your time?
Yep, you can make the
I'm kidding.
request.
I'm kidding. I'm
We can have
kidding.
that
I'm kidding.
conversation.
Okay.
I keep strange hours, don't you worry. So I might say yes. But that's fine, not a problem.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, other questions about the project or the final at this point in time,
Dr. Scott, I have a question.
please?
When you say review the classmates submission, how do you want us to review it? Like as a part of our write-up or as a
As a discussion,
separate discussion board?
so on the discussion board. So you're gonna say, and I don't want to say, everybody's here is fantastic. All your classmates, great. I mean, of course, they're doing great jobs. I have no doubt. But you also, you want to look, too good and too bad. I mean, things that could be improved. Things that the questions that you have. And when they present, they may have raised more questions in addition to the answers they provided. So you can take a little deeper dive saying, I really liked what you said here. It's a sandwich technique. I like what you said. There's a gap right here, and I like this. Okay, we learned that if you do Toastmasters, there's your sandwich evaluation. And it's okay to compliment, but it's also okay to look for more information and do a deeper dive of saying, I wish I could have seen more of ABC because you raised good points about XYZ, but it wasn't clear about how that affected ABC and how that fit together with DEF.
Okay,
But yeah,
Okay,
it's not going to be in your write-up. It's going to be actually
a
feedback.
discussion board.
And it's going to be feedback to the student that actually posted their presentation. So they can know saying, oh yeah, I guess I hit it. Bullseye, except for, all right, I could have done some more here or done some more of area of interest. And a lot of you are using the companies you're working for. Others are using industries you have interest in or connections to. And by all means, you're going to help your classmates who are on the management team of a company, and you ask these questions, they say, oh, wow, I hadn't thought about those questions, but that's a great question. Let me do a little digging because I'm talking to my boss. I've got a review coming up. I'm looking for a raise, or do I want to know if I should stay with my company or not based on performance and where's the best place for me to go and succeed. So by all means, you would be welcome to have a participation and be able to share your insights and help your fellow classmates progress and succeed. Chico, welcome back. You're on mute, but
Sorry, okay, one more question. This is a technical question. The deliverables, there's 3 deliverables. There's the spreadsheet, there is the write-up and outline form, and then there's a video, which we like. Do we have somewhere to submit the spreadsheet and the write-up, or do we submit all those 3 deliverables to the discussion post?
the ideal.
Or do we email you the, you know
Okay,
what I'm saying?
it should be on the discussion post. So you'll have your presentation. You bring up a good point, though. The deliverable, the actual outline, is a separate area that will be sent.
So do you create a separate assignment link that
All
we
the
can
separate
just submit
assignment that
those?
you can submit from that deliverable specifically.
Okay, and then the link to the video will post on the discussion board.
Discussion and then respond to the links. So that good question. Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks.
You're very welcome.
And Dr. Scott, to just extend into Chico's question, like a spreadsheet that we are entering all our companies into.
Yep,
Uh,
that spreadsheet will be a common spreadsheet for everybody. And
Okay.
the reason is that you might say, I'm doing the same company you're doing. Why do I have different numbers?
Yeah.
And you can talk to your classmates.
Mhm.
Or I might be doing similar companies. And while I'm there, oh, there's another company in the industry I didn't look at. Okay, so here's another manufacturer. Here's another retailer. Here's another service business. Here's another phone company. Here's another airline, whatever it might, or another bank, whatever it might be. You can compare some notes, even though you didn't do the analysis. You'll have access to their analysis that might complement what you're doing. And you'll say, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. And I wish I I might incorporate that into my response now, into my own analysis, because I'm seeing what you guys are doing, and that's cool. And that's why we have a common spreadsheet that everybody has access to. And
Okay,
you can,
so,
and you can see if things are out of whack. You can say,
okay, so for our classmates, we will have access to only the discussion board and the spreadsheet, not any other thing.
right, you will not have access to their write-ups,
Oh, okay, we won't have access to their write-ups.
right? Because those are outline format, that's for me to review.
Oh, okay,
But but if you want to put something in and make it accessible to your classmates, and if you want to make that review accessible, you can do that and have a link to that as well.
oh, okay.
So
Okay,
if
so
you wanna share it,
what we are reviewing is just the spreadsheet and the discussion board.
that's correct.
Okay,
And even
Alright.
at that point, it's really, you're not even reviewing the spreadsheet as much unless it's a reference tool. If you say, wait a minute, you said this number, but it didn't add up. I was confused. I wish you could elaborate or get some more. Maybe and hopefully we'll get a dialogue of responses to your classmates. But you don't even need to provide feedback on the spreadsheet. You're providing feedback on the presentation
okay.
they presented, and they'll be doing their presentation based on the spreadsheet. And
Mhm.
that spreadsheet data will be on the commentary that I see in addition to other material that you
Okay,
deem appropriate and deem important.
okay.
Fair enough. Okay, other comments or questions? Then let's go ahead and take a look at the question 6 on module 19. Took us a little while to get here, but it'll be worth it, I can assure you. All right, so let's go take a look. I'm going to take over to so I'm going to share my screen. Actually, I'm going to actually pause. I'm going to stop this recording. I'm going to start another recording.